Carolina This Week with Tim McGinnis.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us for Carolina This Week. The primary in South Carolina is over, so we're back to talking about the 7th Congressional District. We'll get to candidate Randal Wallace in just a moment. We're also going to talk about state lawmakers up in Columbia getting ready for the new session. Some more of my interviews with some of your lawmakers in a few moments. But first, Randal Wallace, Myrtle Beach City Councilman Randal Wallace, who's decided that he wants to maybe change seats and go for the 7th Congressional District. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you all for having me.
You're a Republican. It's a crowded Republican field. Why did you want to get into this race?
Well, I have spent my time on City Council working on issues that we were having in Washington, you know, from I-73 to beach renourishment to even sometimes helping with the Georgetown port. So I felt like I had, you know, some experience dealing with the things that are important to the district in Washington. Plus, my entire family is from Darlington County, Hartsville, Marlboro, Chesterfield, part of Florence. So this district's home. I've spent my whole life here, and it's a chance, you know, to go up there and work on the things that were important to the 7th District. And one of the things I want to do, if I get, you know, a chance, is, you know, I'm going to ask for Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, because those kind of issues are very important to our region, and agriculture, because so much of this area is agriculture. So those are the things I want to do.
At a time when politically, at least in this region, very conservative, be very careful about how you spend money. Why is I-73 a necessary project which would cost millions of dollars?
Economic development is a big portion. You've got counties along that corridor. Marion, for instance, is but 19% unemployment. So, you know, the opportunities that having an interstate branching through here provide for bringing new industry in or helping save the industry we have would be very important. Plus, you know, you've got all these people who moved here. This is a new district, and it's because of the population growth here. And if you have a hurricane come in, you've got to get these people out of here. And so, our hurricane evacuation route is also, I think, the two most important things that I-73 will do.
What do you think you could do, or what would you plan to do that would speed things up? It seems like I-73 has been talked about for decades now, and here we are still waiting for that road to 95 to be built.
Well, you know, that's a tough thing, because, you know, you're going to be one of, you know, 435. But I think I'd like to, as part of a plan to get our spending under control, develop some kind of merit-based appropriation system, so that an interstate highway like this one, that I think was a very easy case to make. You know, you've got one of the fastest growing areas in the whole country here in Myrtle Beach and Georgetown, and then this area that needs so much help in economic development, that on the merits, that interstate should be a high priority. And that's probably true the whole route as you go up, all the way up into Michigan. And so we're getting away from earmarks. One of the things, I guess, that's happened is, you know, earmarks became the form of trading and that kind of thing. Those have been cut off now. So that we've got to find a new way to sell this package, and I think basing it on the merits would be how to do it, and just going and working with people.
You mentioned your time on Myrtle Beach City Council giving you some ideas of what you would like to have done for the area in Washington. I know over the past year, we've talked about these glass enclosures that FEMA say are not allowed by the hoteliers, so people could use the pools in the wintertime. How would you confront issues like that, and what are some other issues that you think need to be taken care of?
Well, you know, if you go on my website, I've kind of have what I say are three crises that we face in this country. One is an out of control spending and budgetary crisis. One's a jobs crisis, and one is really a crisis in spirit that we have because of the negativity that's happened. But in that case, the pool regulation, we need to do something about cutting regulations across the board. What we are doing is stifling, I think, our small business people and free enterprise to the point that you know, it's crippling you know, their ability to hire people and get our economy going. When you look at this situation with the pool enclosures, this is a perfect example of foolishness. I've lived here all my life. I'm 41 years old. We've never had a hurricane hit in January. You know, it just doesn't happen. And their argument is, well, hurricane, those glass things could be a projectile. Well, you know, we don't have them in January. And that's just kind of a perfect example of one size fits all, too much government intrusion. And we need to look at cutting these regulations. And that's not the only example. There's plenty of them. The EPA right now is going after coal-based power plants. Well, you know, the Granger plant, when Hurricane Hugo came here, shut the entire power system for the whole low country and most of the state down. It was the Granger plant that was used to restart the first black start in the history of South Carolina. And some of these regulations are talking about maybe potentially shutting that down. That's crazy. And I think we need to, like I say, cut regulations across the board. And then I have another thing that I really want to push for getting jobs, and I think would be important both to our district, because harvesting our energy resources, I think, is going to be a huge thing that could make us an energy exporter and take us off dependency on foreign oil, but also provide thousands and thousands of jobs. And we have 26 trillion cubic feet of natural gas right off the coast of South Carolina. And I think the best argument for I-73 and dredging the Georgetown port is if we got in a big way going after our energy reserves in this country, the benefits for our area would be huge, and for the whole country would be huge. Because like I said earlier, 2,543 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. I mean, we don't have to be dependent on anybody in the energy field. We've got it here.
So get out there and drill off our shore, bring jobs, bring money, you're saying?
Yes, sir. And really that is when you talk about a merit base to do these projects like dredging the Georgetown port and building I-73. Well, you know, you got to bring it in somewhere and you got to truck it out of here some way. So those are the two best arguments, I think, for down the road for both of those projects. But then, you know, the economic development that you have with those two projects, like in Georgetown, where you have, you know, International Paper and the Georgetown Steel Mill and the gypsum plant, you know, you need to dredge that port so they can use it as a way to get their products in and out too.
On energy, what about the argument of, look what happened with the BP well down in Louisiana and what happened to the Gulf Coast? What if we did that along our coast, what if we found ourselves in the same predicament?
Well, you know, to me, energy is a national security issue. I mean, we need to be energy independent so that we're not paying these foreign governments, you know, to attack us. You know, there's always a chance of some kind of disaster happening, and that's, you know, just kind of how it happens. But most of what I have read, and I serve on the Energy, Environment, and Natural Resources Committee for the National League of Cities, is that what we have off our coast is natural gas. So the potential of the kind of thing that happened in the Gulf is really not there because we're not drilling for oil. But you know, we do have oil reserves throughout the country too, so I'm for going after it. And like I said, you know, that's you just need to make sure that they're doing their job to make sure things are safe and right, but understanding that sometimes you can't plan for everything. But
very fair. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about health care, maybe more energy policy, who knows what. We'll be right back with Councilman, Myrtle Beach City Councilman Randal Wallace, who's going after the 7th Congressional District seat. Be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Carolina This Week. Joining me this week is Myrtle Beach City Councilman Randal Wallace, who's running for the 7th Congressional District seat. This is a new district, and it covers a different area. It's not just along the coast, it reaches into the PD. How do you see there being a different set of needs, or maybe a different set of interests to represent, given the diverse area that this will cover?
Oh yeah, it's you know, economic development needs are a big thing for us on the coast and everywhere. But you've also got to remember you're going to be representing people who live in very rural parts of the state. I know I've been out in Chesterfield County, and they have an issue where their fire rates have gone up because of the volunteer fire departments need a substation out within the area, and anybody who's not within that 5-mile radius, their insurance rates went up from $600 to $1,800 a year. You know, that's a big hit. And that problem is something that's just as important to the folks in Chesterfield County as, you know, dredging the Georgetown port or building I-73 is to all of us on the coast or within those counties. And so what I tell people is you've got to understand that you need a congressman who is going to put everybody's priorities and represent everybody up front. And I think one of the things that is my advantage in the race, I guess, is while I've worked all my life here in Myrtle Beach and lived there, my entire family is from Hartsville, Darlington, Marlboro, Chesterfield. You know, I can't run if I wanted to because I'm going to have my cousins and my aunts and uncles all over me about, hey, what are you doing about this problem or that problem? And I'm kind of excited about the opportunity to represent everybody. And I think that I've the experience and understanding, because I've lived here all my life, that this is a very diversified, very different set of needs that everybody's going to have. And, you know,
do you think that is I-73 the answer for more jobs coming to Marlboro County? And I say Marlboro County because that's the highest rate of unemployment in the state. And of course, the state's the highest, one of the highest in the nation.
I think what the interstate access does is it provides you a way to bring your goods and services out. One of the things, if you notice if you ride around, and Marion off the top of my head, because you'll see those factories that have closed through the years. We've got the facilities now there because they're sitting there, to go out and bring industry here. And with an interstate coming through, I think you can make the case. You're right off the interstate, the building's already here, and we need to look at each county's strengths, what Marlboro's strengths are, what Oree's strengths are, to bring industry here. And that's one of the things that I'd like to spearhead if I get to go to Congress, is how can we take advantage of the buildings that are scattered around the district that we could use to attract business here, and try to bring them here. I know you look at Florence, they've done a lot of really good things with the Carolina Medical Center and McLeod on the medical front. A lot of the businesses that are there are either medical related or chemical related, whatever. That's their strength, and let's go after businesses that are going to fit there and try to help Florence that way. And so, you know, that's kind of what I'd like to do. Opportunity.
Whoever represents the 7th District will be representing people here when it comes to issues like foreign policy and some of the bigger domestic issues. Start with foreign policy. What do you think about the war in Afghanistan? What would you do if a vote came up to bring the troops home or to send more troops over? How do you see that war going?
We need to, these folks that are hiding out in Afghanistan, they attacked us, and we need to do whatever we can to make sure that mission is complete, and that means going after those folks. And so I'm there for our troops need to finish the job. So however that comes, when we feel like we've got it complete, then that's where I would be. I think in foreign policy, the single biggest issue out there is Iran. Mm-hmm. And I just believe that that country, we really need a regime change there. And we need a president who's willing to say, put it down, we've got to do something about it. They have people in their country that I think the Azeris make up 20 million in the population. They want out, they want to go to greater Azeristan, I think is how you pronounce it. And then you got the Persians, who are the native, the group that were part of the old area there before Iran was created by the British. They want out. They were rioting in the streets. Our president didn't do anything to help them. And I think what we need to do is put some money in CIA and intelligence and start working to remove them, because they are the biggest state sponsor of terror. They're over here right now trying to get Hezbollah in South America, working with the Venezuelans and trying to export their terrorism over here. They've already said they want to bomb Israel, which is our greatest ally. And Israel is the equivalent of a supercarrier in the middle of the Middle East for us. That is why that relationship is so important. They are our ally there, and we need to do what we can to protect them and to protect our interests. And the number one thing we can do is remove Iran and the leadership that they have there from power. They are already, they're a satellite state in Syria. This guy needs to go to.
At what point do you think we should send troops in? At what point should it be another war, or should it be?
I think there's enough unrest amongst the people there that our intelligence folks could help that happen.
Stir the pot.
Yeah, and help. If they start to look at having a nuclear weapon, these folks, we learned from Hitler in the 1940s. You take a person seriously when they make statements like they're going to bomb Iran or they're going to build a nuclear weapon and export it. And you can look at their history, trying to get in here in South America with their terrorist groups, or exporting stuff in Syria or bombing, Israel, that kind of thing, covertly. They've shown that they mean what they say. And so I think we should take them seriously, and if they just start to develop a nuclear weapon, we should do whatever we have to do to remove that as a possibility.
Everybody talks about repealing Obamacare. Would you go after repealing Obamacare?
I think very much so.
How so?
Well, if he's still the president in November, you probably would just have to figure out ways to unfund it, because he's going to veto whatever you do. But the deficits that thing is going to cause are tremendous. And we've got, one of the things I've been proposing all along is real serious entitlement reform. Understanding, of course, that we need to honor the commitments that we've made to our senior citizens and those folks who are on Medicare and Social Security today, and those about to go on it. But we need to do what we can to make them solvent, because when you figure up entitlements and defense, we're $478 billion in the hole before we ever do anything else. So that's one of the main things I think we need to do. And Obamacare doesn't do anything but actually divert money away from Medicare and then just create all kinds of regulations and money that's going to cripple our small businessman's ability to even compete. And so it's something that I think we need to repeal. Whether or not you can do that with him still there, I don't know. But that's somebody else's race this year. So,
last question for you. I ask everyone, why should I vote for you?
I want to go to Congress because this is home, And the needs that have been here are things that I've worked on all my life, whether it's as a city councilman or even before that, issues as a member of the Georgetown COG, the Waccamaw Council of Governments. And so, and then my whole family being from the PD, you know, I understand the diversity here, and I want to represent you. And I always remembered the advice that I got from Senator Strom Thurmond in 1996. He told me, he said, always remember, if somebody's there with a problem sitting on the other side of that desk, they're there because they didn't know anywhere else to go, and it's your job to help them. And I still believe that if I get the opportunity to serve, which I hope I will, the #1 job I'm going to have is representing the public and the people, and remember they're my boss, and helping them with whatever situation that they individually need from the federal government. And between all those things, having a real feel for the diversity of the district, knowing, hey, we've got to get our 3 crises, the spending problem, the jobs under control, and presenting a positive image for our council, and then understanding the needs directly for our district to make us competitive are the 3 most important things we can do. And I have a plan to do all that, and I'm excited about the opportunity to get to do it. So.
All right, Myrtle Beach City Councilman Randal Wallace, thanks for being with us this morning.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, stay with us. We'll be right back talking with some of our state representatives in Columbia about this coming legislative session. We'll be right back.